Welcome to Fernandez Finds Adventure. I'm Mark and today I'm going to take you along with me as I detail my 2012 Subaru Impreza WRX. It has almost 200,000 kilometers on it and it has just completed a 700 kilometer trip. So let's roll the intro and get into today's video. Today's detail is just going to be a hand detail. There is going to be absolutely no power tools required if you want to repeat the exact same process that I'm doing here to your car. The first thing I always do is to get the garden hose and just rinse off the car. This just pulls away some of the loose dirt that just settles on the vehicle, especially after things like rain and just sitting around and gathering dust. Some bugs also come off when you do this as well. This also gives me a really good opportunity to see what the condition of the paint is like. I can then assess the paint and see if there's any chips that might become worse if I decide to use the power hose. In this case, I spotted a number of deep chips on the bonnet, so I'll take extra care when working around this area. Removing the number plate serves a couple of purposes, but the main one being that when you remove the number plate, you can actually have more contact with the paint around it, meaning that you can seal it and get a proper seal of the paint around that number plate. I've gone around the car one more time just to make sure that the dirt and all the bugs are all nice and soft, or as much of it has come off before I get out the power hose. So now I'm going to be moving around the vehicle with the power hose, and I'm going to try and keep that stream on a slight angle so that it can remove away from the paint all of the dirt and bugs and anything else that might cause swirling when I start to do my contact wash. Now it's time to do the contact wash. I'm using two buckets here, one for the soap and one is just a normal bucket of water just to rinse off any of the dirt and grit. So I'm not using all the same bucket and reusing and putting back all the dirt that I've just taken off the vehicle. I also recommend that you use a microfiber wash mitt similar to what I have here. The thing that I have to remind myself constantly is to not put too much pressure on the wash mitt against the paint. The idea is you want to be lifting dirt off not pushing it down into the paint and aggressively swirling. That is how you get unsightly swirl marks. Most of the time for normal washes, all you really need to do is just hose down the car and rub the wash mitt over the car, and it's normally enough to bring all of the dirt off the car. There's no reason why you need to put so much force onto the vehicle where it would cause swirling or scratches. Just a light scrub is more than enough to get all the dirt off that you need to. If there are some bugs and other things that are stuck on really good, then you can put a little bit more time and effort and concentration into those areas. You're probably thinking that I'm using a car wash soap here, but no, actually I'm using just normal household dish soap. The reason why I do this is to try and strip as much wax and sealant off the paint as I can. I do this so I can remove as much grease and wax off the surface of the paint, so my sealant that I'm using has the best opportunity to stick and set on the paint. Then I rinse the car off with the power hose to make sure I get as much of the bugs and grit off as possible before I start my next stage on the paint. Now it's time to turn our attention to the wheels. I'm still using the same 2-bucket method, however I'm using 2 different devices to scrub the wheels here. The first brush is a large one that's going to get into all of the big areas in the wheel spaces. Due to the design of the wheels in this WRX, I went out and purchased some soft, non-scratching detailing brushes. I use them to get into all the little nooks and crannies that the big brush couldn't. Now if you're wondering, that big brush is again microfiber, so we're not going to be scratching the wheels. And again, I'm still using the dish soap, the same stuff that I used on the paint. I now turn my attention to the badges, and now it's time to get some of the grit out from around them. I used a smaller detailing brush around them just to try and lift up and get into all those little spaces that are really hard to get into, just to try and lift up all of that dirt and to get rid of it. Then I just wash them off with a garden hose. Now we've got the whole car as clean as you would normally if you were just going to give it a normal wash. However, we're taking it a step further today and we're going to be moving on to clay barring. A clay bar is really sticky and the purpose of it is to try and lift up as much dirt and muck and bugs and whatever it is that's caught in the clear coat that you can't get off normally, and it brings it up and into this clay bar. You then smush it around to try and get a nice fresh side, and then you keep going. The great thing about this is it brings all that dirt up, so when it comes time to wax or seal or paint correct, whatever it is that you're doing, you're not going to be pushing that dirt and bugs further into the clear coat or scratching as you are rubbing or buffing or whatever it is that you're doing. So the exact process that I like to use is to bring out the old trusty dish soap again. I then put the dish soap and some water into a spray bottle and use that as a way to try and lubricate the surface so that my clay bar can move easily and glide over the paint. A lot of the companies that produce these clay bars, they sell them in kits, and in those kits often has a spray polish that you'll use to lubricate the surface as you are moving the clay bar over the painted surface. However, we just spent all that time trying to degrease the surface and remove these waxes and polishes, so what I like to use is just some dish soap and water in a spray bottle and spray that as I'm working my way around the vehicle. You can see the technique that I'm using here where I spray the surface and I'm just doing small back and forwards motions, no swirling motions at all. So just back and forwards motions, and I'm just working my way around each panel. I'm just going to show you how I do the front section, and from there I just repeated the process all over the vehicle. Using the clay bar is very simple. All you do is just move it back and forwards on the paint until you can't feel that scratchy, gritty feel anymore. If you're wondering what that gritty feeling is like, just spray some on the roof and give it a quick go over and you will feel the scratchiness underneath the clay bar. And scratchiness is, of course, a scientific term. You'll notice that as you work your way around the panel, that when you go back to the spots you've already done, that it will be a lot more smooth. That's because you're removing all the particulates that have embedded themselves in the clear coat of your paint. After clay barring the vehicle, I rinsed it off to remove the dish soap and dried it before moving on to the ceramic coat. The final step of this detail is to use a sealant. In the past I would have used just a normal car wax, just a paste. However, this time I'm going to be trying out a ceramic wax. So this ceramic wax is a little bit different because instead of protecting the paint through greases and waxes, what it does is it creates a hard layer and a protective layer over the top of your clear coat. I haven't used this product before, so I'm interested to see how it will hold up in the long term. I'll do a long-term review of this product later on because I'm in the perfect climate to be able to test this. From torrential rain to extreme heat, we'll see how this product holds up over time. In the short term, I'm very impressed with how easy this product was to put on, and also the level of shine that I got out of this product was incredible. It created a lot more depth to the paint, which was immediately noticeable. Applying this product was very easy. All you have to do is spray some in the towel, wipe it over so it has a nice even coat, let it dry for a little bit, and then buff it off. Drying time varies, but I just did one panel at a time and came back. So I did the rear section and the rear panel first. I moved on, applied some to the door, and then went back to the back panel to buff it off. By the time I repeated this process, it was more than enough for the product to set and harden. Now it's time to turn our attention to our cloudy headlights. Now guys, don't be fooled into having to buy a headlight restoration kit. If you have microfiber towels and things like polishes and waxes, you can easily clear these up yourself. With a little bit of elbow grease and some polish or some wax, you can do this job yourself and you don't have to purchase any new products. So what I used for the buffing was Bowden's own Paint, Cleanse and Restore, and I found this was perfectly sufficient to remove all of that clouding and oxidization from the top. And you can see that most of the oxidization has occurred from the top of the headlight. Once I've buffed the headlights and I'm happy with them, I'm just going to go ahead and seal them just with a wax. Now you can use any wax that you like, but again, I'm going to stick to Bowden's own. It's an Australian made company, so I'm going to go ahead and use them. wanted to do a thorough job, so I made sure I included the number plates and sealed them so that it's easier to remove the bugs off them in the future. This detail took 5 hours to do, and I'm so happy with the result. This process removed a lot of the marks that I thought were permanent, and I'm impressed with how it turned out. The more I work on this car, the more I'm absolutely falling in love with it. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like and subscribe. I'll leave you with some clips that I took, and I'll see you guys next week.